We'll call this meeting of the Bucks County Board of Commissioners, May 1st, 2024, to order, and beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Director of Finance, Dave Vascola, will lead us in the pledge. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and we have several presentations today. The first one, of course, is very exciting. I can see it right there. This is about local wildlife safety, and Leah Stallings, the Executive Director of ARC Rehabilitation and Education Center, is here. So welcome, and take your time, but oh, she brought a beautiful friend. You can go to if you can go to the podium, we can hear you on the microphone there.
Okay, so thank you all for having me here today. I know that you wanted a brief talk about safety and wildlife, and certainly there are a lot of things happening out in the environment right now that everybody needs to be aware of. First of all, this is Harry. Harry is an eastern screech owl, and he came to the ARC after being hit by a car. And he lost the vision, and he actually lost the entire left eye. And anybody who wears glasses knows that if you are a binocular vision individual and you lose the vision in one eye, you have no depth perception. Therefore, hunting is a challenge for Harry. So Harry gets to be an ambassador, and he lives at the ARC, and he goes to programs and does things like this to represent what we do. So what we do is take in orphaned and injured native Pennsylvania wildlife. And in accompaniment with that, we provide environmental education throughout the area to help people live in harmony with their wild neighbors, because as we move into the wildlife's community, they are then in our community, and sometimes we need to work together so that we don't displace them and they don't totally irritate us, right? So you wanted to know a little bit about safety. And right now, this time of year, most of our calls are coming in about raccoons, fawns, squirrels, rabbits, and baby birds. So we'll start with raccoons. It's breeding season for raccoons right now. If somebody traps a mother from a shed or from their attic or from wherever because they don't want her there, chances are there's babies left behind. The instinct, of course, as we are human and we want to help everything, is to rush in there and cuddle those babies and take them in and then get them to the rehab center. The most important thing I can stress is before you get involved in a wildlife situation, call a professional, speak to them for advice, figure out the next course of action, and then follow the instructions exactly. I had a situation just the other day where someone brought in raccoons that they had orphaned, and then they were caring for it for days, and they brought it in their shirt, petting it, trying to kiss them goodbye, that kind of stuff, and that is a health risk. Rabies, raccoons carry rabies. We have a rabies problem in the state of Pennsylvania. It's pretty endemic in the community, and they can be born with it. So saliva contact of any kind is not a good thing. So gloves, a towel, and a box are the most important things you have when you're encountering a wildlife situation and you want to be safe. It's kind of like put your oxygen mask on before you put your neighbor's oxygen mask on. Make sure you're safe, make sure you have a plan, and then go in and do the rescue. So that's my speech on raccoons, because I get a lot of that right now. Baby birds, pretty much leave them alone. If you've completely orphaned a nest or you know for a fact the parent isn't coming back, call the ARC, we'll talk you through the steps, we'll figure out if they need to come in for care, and they're welcome to come in for care if need be. The big safety thing with birds is mites. You don't want the bugs. And if a nest has a lot of parasite activity, chances are there's a problem with that nest anyway, because the mom would be really good at taking care of that. So again, gloves, a towel, and a box. Don't be kissing them, ever. Baby rabbits. Leave them alone. If you're out gardening and you disturb a nest, recognize that it's there, cover it back up, and just avoid that area for a little while. Mom will come back. The mother only feeds them twice a day. and they're really hard to raise in captivity. I have 55 of them in care right now. It takes about 4 hours to feed them all. She comes in the evening and she comes in the morning. So as long as you put that nest back together, she's gonna come back and take care of them. The problem is sometimes things happen to the mother, right? They are a prey species, and sometimes the mother is killed by a car or by a fox or by a red-tailed hawk or whatever. I always give people the suggestion that if you've unearthed a baby nest and you wanna make sure mom is coming back, wait until the next morning, put on a glove, pick the baby up and look. If the baby's nice and fat and round and healthy looking, she was in to feed it. Put it back and ignore it for another few weeks, and then they will go on their own. Fawns, you don't want to touch deer. You don't want any physical contact with deer. They don't want any physical contact with you. Mothers, the mother deer will put her baby in the middle of your yard, right in the sunshine, and everybody assumed that baby's abandoned. She has other babies in the area that she's caring for. She will come in when it cries and feed it. You'll probably never see her. As long as the fawn is curled up like a cat, you're good to go. He's perfectly fine. If you're really worried about it, again, call us or any rehab center and talk to the professionals so they can decide if there's an intervention that's needed. Deer carry diseases. There's chronic withering disease. They carry COVID. They actively shed COVID. And then there's a myriad of other things that we're looking at with deer. So we want to make sure that we don't have any interaction with that baby that's not absolutely necessary. And then, of course, there's baby squirrels. A lot of times you've got squirrels in the attic. If you trap a squirrel out of your attic from March on, you've got babies up there. They're not as dangerous. We don't have as many disease issues with them. Parasites maybe. But again, gloves are important because their teeth develop. By 3 weeks of age, they have enough teeth to bite you, even if their eyes are closed, even if they're still nursing. So you never want to be bitten by a mammal. That's a nasty bite. I think that's mostly the safety issues that I have, and I know you wanted me to be brief, but if you have any questions or anything.
Well, I will see if my colleagues do, but thank you. Those were exactly the animals I was thinking of. Did you?
Groundhogs.
Groundhog. Love them or hate them.
Hate them, yeah.
Okay. I personally love them. They're like little football players. They don't even have a neck. They are on the rabies vector list. The only reason they're on the rabies vector list is because they tend to inhabit the leftover holes from foxes and skunks, which are high on the rabies list. So there is a chance of an encounter that they could have with one of those species, which would cause them to be infected and be sick. If you're thinking about how do I get them to not live under my shed, my favorite advice for that is coyote urine. Drop the mic, right? You can buy it online. They make a synthetic, very stinky coyote urine. Coyotes are the apex predator in the area. They're coming back. Every single animal out there that can smell knows the smell of coyote urine instinctively and knows that that coyote is going to eat them if they stick around. So the best advice I have is if you have possums, raccoons, fox, anything too close to your living area, is to try humane eviction first. Humane eviction is always the best way to go. It allows them to relocate and find their new home themselves. Taking an animal, and an animal maybe with its babies, and plopping it in a foreign place sets them up for some failure. They can do it, but it's a real hardship. It's like, oh, I know you have a bunch of babies and they're all newborn, but I'm gonna take you to New York City where you know no one and know nothing and have no job, and you get to find a place to live. So it's kind of hard to do it that way. So we like to do humane harassment or humane eviction, and the coyote urine is the perfect answer for that.
Thank you. Commissioner DiGirolamo?
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm not going to be a big surprise to most people. When a lot of people come here, I always get back to talking about the farm and my grandfather for some reason. And now that you brought the Allen, the The farm that my grandfather purchased in Bensalem around 1930 was right along the Delaware River. And it was only about 25 acres, but it was right next to a very historic place called the Philadelphia Gun Club, right down there on State Road. And the gun club is very historic. It goes back to 1875. They have a registry there of people who I've visited, and I got shot there. They shot skeets a lot of times, but they also they had a live pigeon shoot every once in a while. And some of the names in that registry are Ernest Hemingway, President Teddy Roosevelt, Annie Oakley, and over about people who stayed there and visited and stayed overnight. But when they had the live pigeon shoots, sometimes the pigeons that were shot fell over in my grandfather's farm. And me and my sister, younger sister, Joanne, for years would go and rescue the pigeons that were wounded that couldn't fly again. And we had a little cage system right next to the house where we used to put them in there and feed them and try to nurse them back to health. A lot of times we were successful, not always, but me and my sister, we did that. That was our project. The problem was my grandfather was not happy with the pigeon shoot because the pigeons, a lot of the dead ones would fall on his farm. And, he, in his mind, he said, one day if we ever wanted to sell it or, we would never be able to sell it with dead pigeons falling on the farm. So he went and got an attorney who was fresh out of law school because he couldn't find anybody to take on this Philadelphia Gun Club. He got an attorney fresh out of law school and filed a suit to get them to stop shooting over his farm. And he won in the lower courts and another lower court, and they took him to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, trying to stop my grandfather from limiting the shooting. And my grandfather actually won. And they were forced to stop the shooting. They claimed that the gun club claimed they had an easement because they had done it for so long, I think back from 1875, so it was like 50-some years they had been doing it. They claimed they had an easement. But the Supreme Court ruled in my grandfather's favor. But the two things I remember is my grandfather winning in the Supreme Court and me and my sister grabbing the pigeons that were shot and wounded and couldn't fly and taking them back and trying to nurse them back to health. So thank you for being there and thank you for the good work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All of a sudden, I forgot Al's name. Harry. Thanks to Harry as well, and we appreciate all you do. I know probably many people in here have thought about bringing an animal to you. I know I have, and we appreciate your taking the time to come in and educating us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And if you and Harry want to come up here, we'll take a quick picture. Eric, did you want anything in the picture?
Oh, really? How about that? Okay.
Thank you. Next, today we are remembering Mental Health Awareness Month, and Commissioner DiGirolamo will begin with a proclamation.
Okay, thank you. I have a proclamation. I'm going to read it for you. Whereas since 1949, that's the year before I was born, Mental Health Awareness Month has been an annual reminder to increase awareness of the vital role mental health plays on our overall health and well-being, and provide resources and information to those who may need mental health support. 1 in 5 adults experience mental health problems in any given year, and 1 in 20 adults lives with serious mental health illness. Early identification and treatment can make a profound difference in the successful management of mental illness and recovery. Organizations like Wellspring Clubhouse assist adults in mental health recovery with finding employment opportunities, housing, and education to improve their quality of life. It is important to maintain mental health, invest in prevention efforts, and learn the symptoms of mental health illness in order to get help when it is needed. Every citizen and community can make a difference in helping end the stigma that surrounds mental illness with school-based education, recovery, focused support, and civic activities. Now, therefore, we, the Board of the Bucks County Commissioners, hereby proclaim May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month throughout the County of Bucks. In doing so, we commend the work done every day by the employees of the Bucks County Department of Behavioral Health Development Programs and their community partners, including Wellspring Clubhouse. We encourage residents of the county and beyond to understand the importance of mental health. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have two people here today. First, from Wellspring Clubhouse, St. Luke's Penn Foundation is Lisa Dombrowski, and then Donna Duffy Bell from our Behavioral Health Department. Excuse me?
Not today.
We're just going to have them speak for now. I have you under public comment, if that's okay. Okay, well, we're going to call you up for public comment, if that's all right. And Donna will speak afterwards. Thank you.
Well, it's hard to follow Harry.
It is.
My name is Lisa Dombrowski, AKA Queen Anti-Stigma, and I see some faces that were at the You Matter Walk, which was awesome. So I'm from the Wellspring Clubhouse, part of St. Luke's Penn Foundation, and we help assist people living with mental illness and getting jobs, going back to school, socialization, and it all started back in 1954 when people started to meet on the library steps who had mental illness in New York City, and they helped each other get jobs and everything like that. And they got so big and they were so powerful that they caught the eye of the Federation League of Jewish Women, who got the very first clubhouse. And now there's 240 of us all around the world. So our claim to fame, one of our claim to fames, is all the clubhouses have what we call transitional employment. It's where Clubhouse owns the job, and we put members in there every 6 to 9 months to start building the resume and deciding what they like. We are a day program, and we, together, side by side with members, run the clubhouse, and that helps instill skills, and then we go back out into the community with jobs, volunteer, education. And with that, if you have any questions, there'll be a pamphlets on the back table, but I really want to introduce you to Patrick Murphy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Murphy, and I'm with Wellspring Clubhouse with Lisa, and I've been there since the summer of 2012. So at this point on, it'll be coming close to being 12 years being there. But the program itself has been a great experience because growing up, basically, I had a pretty not really decent childhood, but it just led to a lot of like antisocial and depressing manners. But when I was introduced to Wellspring Clubhouse, it kind of gave me a different aspect of my life. And so as a result, I was able to, through the program, meet people who have their own different stories of their recovery. And I also, bit by bit, have done many things that I really wouldn't see myself like 12 years from now, really, like going to different conferences from Penn State to Massachusetts. Heck, I'm basically looking into the next step with like going to the next conference in Michigan. And also, because of the program, I was able to partake in the community and wanted to give back as a result. So most of the time, I'm now part of what we have is a little advisory board where we basically help members within communities and connecting with members within the community. And I'm also part of the board of directors at St. Luke's Penn Foundation, connecting with different companies, organizations, and companies well, in the communities. So it is very much an honor to being here to speak right here. And so once again, thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And now Donna Duffy Bell, our Director of Behavioral Health.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to acknowledge May as Mental Health Awareness Month. It's so inspiring to hear about Wellspring Clubhouse, which I had the opportunity to go to New York and Fountain House 40 years ago, okay? Yes, it was 40 years ago, and was on the ground level with the development of Wellspring Clubhouse. So again, it continues to be an inspiration, and I'm so glad we have the opportunity to celebrate here in Bucks County all of how far we've come as a county in terms of supporting people with mental illness and with co-occurring mental illness and substance use disorders. Just in the calendar year 2023, Bucks County supported over 6,500 individuals who were either uninsured or underinsured in terms of receiving the mental health supports they needed. If we combine that with the county's subcontractor, Magellan Behavioral Health, which supports individuals in Bucks County who have medical assistance and behavioral health needs, that number for 2023 is well over 20,000 residents in Bucks County. While we can all agree there's a ton left to do, and sometimes we hear more about what there is left to do and the deficits than what we're doing well, especially I would call out, all that we need to do around housing. But we are still moving forward. We are still developing services which Bucks County residents really are in need of. Very proud of the Forensic Diversion Center, which is currently under construction, and also Bright Path Center, for which groundbreaking will occur next week, May 7th. Those two programs together, I think, will go very far in closing some access gaps we have here in Bucks County, as well as divert people from state hospitals, from incarceration, and really continue to support people being in the community. So just as a final comment, I want to thank the commissioners and Bucks County for their support of innovation in Bucks County, your commitment to parity for both physical health and behavioral health, and your education of the legislature around the need for continued and increased mental health based funding. Good mental health, I think, enables all of our residents, not just those with formal diagnoses of mental illness, to live full lives in the community, to live, to learn, to work. So it really benefits all of our residents of Bucks County to participate in the community. When you have good mental health care, you have good health care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you would like a tour of the clubhouse, please give us a call. We'll love to have you.
We would too, and if you don't mind coming up, we'd love to take a picture with you.
Scott, you wanna-
It's all right, you can sit for the picture.
Thank you, congrats, thank you.
I think before we do the Conservation Week, I just wanted to also make mention and maybe ask for a round of applause. This week, Bill Yerkes, longtime member of the Agricultural Preservation Board since 1989, passed away. He is the owner of Nonesuch Farm and has been a dedicated servant to Bucks County and agricultural preservation. So we remember him. And in honor of Conservation Week, we have the Conservation District here. And I'm going to need you to give me everybody's names.
Good morning, I'm
Karen.
Karen Ogden. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Karen Ogden, Watershed Specialist at the Conservation District. I'm joined by Mr. Jim Walter, who, if you look at the screens, you'll learn a little bit about him. But first, I wanted, after following the previous two speakers, I have to mention that, you know, the connection between viewing wildlife in their natural habitats and the connection to mental and physical wellness can't be underestimated, and it's just something that, you know, we all can value. So the district could not achieve our mission if not for the volunteers and the community who are working towards our shared conservation goals. Volunteers play key roles in our township environmental advisory councils. They volunteer for organizations, nonprofit organizations. They give their time and their labor even to us, the Conservation District. For the larger public, we encourage anybody who knows a standout person in conservation, agricultural, or natural resources to please visit our website, nominate them, let them get some recognition for the work they do. And that, like I said, is on our website. Today, though, we're recognizing Mr. Jim Walter. He wears a lot of hats in his retirement. He is a Penn State Master Watershed Steward, a Master Gardener. He's the co-chair of the Buckingham Township EAC. He's the vice president of the Neshaminy Watershed Association, and there's more. He gives so much time to so many organizations, all in the furtherance of Bucks County natural resources, with a particular emphasis on our creeks, streams, and river. So I want to thank Jim sincerely for all of his efforts for the larger community and for the district itself. He assists me personally, whether it's getting in the creek with equipment for water quality monitoring, stabilizing eroded stream banks. He's in the thick of it, and from the pictures, I hope you can see that. So as a token of our appreciation, the district would like to present Jim with this plaque. It's made locally from trash and debris collected from the Delaware River stream banks with an artist's rendering. So I'd like to show Jim. Wonderful. So with that, I'd like, if Jim, if you have anything. I surprised Jim today. I didn't tell him he was going to be acknowledged specifically, but because we partner on so many things, I felt it was important that he be here today.
We agree, and Commissioner Harvey?
As the representative from the commissioners who sits on the Conservation District and also somebody who cares about the environment, I've encountered Mr. Walter several times. Saw him on Saturday, and he was helping me or showed me where to put a tree in at Core Creek, so I appreciate that. But we knew obviously that you were going to be getting this award today. Actually, I knew probably last month. Oh, I didn't know last month. It's May 1st, obviously, it was last month. But we do have a letter for you, commendation, which I'd like to read. Dear Mr. Walter, we are proud and pleased to present you this letter of commendation upon receiving the 2024 Bucks County Conservation District Outstanding Individual Conservation Award. As a Master Watershed Steward, member of the Buckingham Township EAC, you have brought a dedicated commitment to land and resource conservation, making significant contributions to the region's watershed. Your pivotal role in supporting the Bucks County Conservation District's partnership with the Keystone 10 Million Trees program included many responsibilities such as coordinating project development, gathering orders, and helping distribute trees and planting supplies. Those remarkable contributions led to nearly 10,000 newly planted trees across the county, including many locations within the Bucks County Park System. You recently took a significant step toward securing a sustainable future for our county by establishing a live stake nursery at Core Creek Park. This project will provide a source of native plants for future stabilization programs and strengthen the ecological health of our watersheds. Your time and expertise are invaluable to Bucks County Parks and Recreation, the Conservation District, townships, and watershed associations. While conducting outreach and education programs with topics on invasive species identification and control, gardening with native plants, wellhead protection, and habitat restoration, you showed a natural ability to engage and inspire a wide range of audiences. Your research-oriented approach has helped promote conservation and environmental awareness across the region. Your dedication, knowledge, and collaborative approach have made you a tremendous resource to Bucks County. We wish you continued success in your efforts to protect our environment and its resources.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the great support that the county has given me and other volunteers through the Conservation District, through Parks and Recreation. It's resources like that that make it all available, because planting trees and live stakes requires land. And the county, the townships, the conservation districts give us the access to the land to really make a difference. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim?
Congratulations, Jim.
Okay, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Getting with, we can move to public comment, and the first person is Christine Heilman. Christine? She's coming. Sorry, my thing went off, I couldn't see her.
It's Heitman.
I'm a high-level software QA engineer, and I have to say that you cannot secure the elections until you actually secure the cases that are unlikely to happen. Let's say that Bob owns a number of private prisons. He wants to build a prison in Doylestown. The town of Doylestown puts a question on the ballot in the primaries. Do you want to build a prison in your backyard? Marge hates politics. She only votes once every 4 years. Bob knows that there's no way that Marge would vote yes for the prison. The fact that Marge only votes every 4 years is publicly available information. Bob has money, and he doesn't care about the law. He knows that most people are going to vote no for this, but he really wants a prison to be built. So he hires Chris to fill out ballot applications for Marge and a lot of her neighbors. Chris hires Pat to work at the Doylestown post office, and Pat intercepts Marge's ballots and her neighbors. The ballot application. Chris fills out Marge's and her neighbors' ballot applications and submits them. The Board of Elections processes Marge's ballot applications. NPC is the company that prints the mail-in applications, mail-in ballots, and has a post office in it. NPC both prints the mail-in ballots and sends them to the voters. Chris hires Gene to work at NPC. Gene sees Marge's ballot and he yanks it out of the pile, as well as her neighbors. Chris fills out all the ballots and submits them. When Marge's ballot envelopes is Blue Crest scanned at the Board of Elections, the signature is sent to the state's website. The state SURE system has been validating that the signature matches what's in the system, but the SURE system is broken right now, and the county has chosen not to validate the signatures by hand. This is concerning to me as a citizen. I don't want Bob to steal our elections. Poor Marge is going to come home from vacation to discover that they're going to build a prison in her backyard. Now her property value is going to go down. Why don't we care enough to close this hole? Yesterday you said that people's signature might change over time. However, if your signature is changed, you can go in and sign again so that the state has your new signature. And then another point I'd like to make is I was given a blue vest when I checked in, and I think that this is great, and I think that the poll workers and the ClearCast people should all have vests on of different colors, so it's really easy to identify what role people have.
Thank you. Fran Haller.
Each ballot has tick marks along the sides and bottoms. These tick marks identify what precinct the ballot belongs to. There is no marking, visible or invisible, on the ballot that makes it unique. All ballots for the same precinct are identical prior to the voter marking on them. Let's say Barb is working the machine. She has 2 piles of 50 ballots for the same precinct. She scans in one and has them in her hand. Deanna, a friend she hasn't seen for years, comes into the room and says, Barb? Barb puts down the stack right next to the other one and gives Deanna a big hug, and they talk for a few minutes, catching up. When Barb returns to her work, there's 2 stacks of 50 ballots. She makes a mistake. She takes the wrong stack, the one that hadn't been scanned already, and she packs it into a box to put away. Then she takes the first stack of ballots and scans them in for the second time. These ballots are allowed through the system because there's no individual marking on the ballot, and thus no way for the machine to know that they have already been scanned. The machine knows that that precinct is supposed to have 100 ballots. The machine will not allow the 101st ballot to be scanned in for this precinct. But in this case, 100 ballots have been scanned, so the scanner thinks everything is fine. Scanning stations were left unlocked. ClearCast employees were scanning in ballots when no worker was around to see. I want a copy of the ballot images from all of the scanners, mail-in or in person. You have been denying right-to-know requests, saying that there's identifying information on the ballot images, but the only information on the ballot image are the tick marks, which identify precinct only, not individual. So, I'm asking, why won't you be transparent so that we can validate the results of the election for ourselves? Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Harris.
Why does the XML contain anything other than a display name? This is a question I would like you to be asking yourselves and ClearCast. At 8:43 on Election Day, at the Board of Elections, Christine Heitman overheard a ClearCast employee explaining to Gail Humphrey how the ClearCast scanner works. It scans in the ballot and creates a PDF of the ballot. Then it reads the PDF and makes an XML file. There's some kind of setup for the candidates in that precinct. The software reads the setup and uses it to generate the XML file. The XML file has 3 different fields for the name of the candidate. There's a database somewhere. This database has been set up with the names of the candidates at the precinct. If the name on the XML doesn't match the name in the database, then the votes for that candidate simply don't get counted. There is no error message being displayed. Apparently, there was an issue where for one of the precincts, for one of the candidates, their votes weren't being counted. It seems like someone typed in a name incorrectly or typed it in the wrong field. There are 3 name fields, so it is very easy to screw this up. If the wrong name field is set up, then when the name isn't found in the database, the votes for that candidate don't count. Why is it architected this way? Why doesn't the XML have only one name field so it's harder to make a mistake? And why is there no error displayed at all? Also, why isn't the setup of all of the precincts double-checked during the LNA testing and during the beginning of Election Day? It would not be a hard technical challenge for the ClearCast system to add a verification routine that could be run at the beginning of the day to avoid this. Can you tell me what candidates and precincts had this problem? How can we be sure that it is the only one precinct it happened to? I would like a copy of all the XML files for every precinct in the county. How do I do that? I would also like a copy of all of the setup information for every precinct in the county. How do I get this information? Thank you.
Scott Vogan.
Scott Vogan, Warrington Township. I do attend Wellspring Clubhouse, so just so everyone knows, that's part of the reason why I have so many problems, because in my township, I get a lot of abuse for having these mental disabilities, and it's been reported numerous times. Commissioner Marseglia, I believe it was the retirement meeting when you kept the speaker on topic, and that was greatly appreciated from someone watching it remotely, because some of the babbling that's going on is disrespectful to everybody, the public and the elected officials. As I watch these meetings, I'm reminded by a quote by Lincoln, "Better to be thought of a fool and remain silent than speak out and remove all doubt." And some people, and I'm going to emphasize the word some, are clearly falling into that category. Second question, perhaps Commissioner Harvey or DiGirolamo can know, because obviously you did not sit on the Board of Elections for this cycle. What was the mail-in percentage compared to the in-person? I've heard anywhere from 40 to 50%. And to raise a comment by Commissioner Harvey about personal conflicts, no personal conflict allows an officer of an election to be disrespectful to a voter in the voting room on election day. That's clear. And there was that with the Board of Elections taking no action. The third thing I have relates to the Bradford Dam in Warrington. This is owned by Bucks County and is leased to Warrington Township. And there is a whole thing with the lease that I do not understand. I'm not privy with that. But as I walk the dam, I see on the dam head, there's walkers, dogs, horses, motorized vehicle tracks. I believe the motorized vehicle tracks, I have been told, are county maintenance vehicles, which is fine. But I'm also concerned it could be other stuff that could be endangering the integrity of the dam. There was a sign years ago that came off due to a storm, and the sign basically said, "Don't go on the dam head." To get onto the dam head, it would be as easy as for me to walk over to the row officers, and now you're on the dam head. And what I'm concerned about is that's going to ruin the integrity of the dam, which we all know if that dam fails, we could be in a lot of trouble. So I was wondering if, I think it would be General Services, I'm not exactly sure, could work with Warrington, and I'm speaking privately as a private citizen, not related to Wellspring, or my capacity as a member of one of the committees of Warrington as a private citizen, to make sure we get that sign back up or some sort of barricade to keep people off the dam head. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Beth Roth. Thank you. Ed Mackhouse.
Ed Mackhouse, retired physicist teacher. I'd like to speak. Generally, you have done a good job, Democrats and Republicans working together. And the mental health is Rise 24. There's a lot of work to try and help people. Passover is over now. We celebrated Passover. The angel of death passed over us. We surviving another year. On college campuses, for example, there is a lot of anti-Semitism now. There's been attacks on Jews. People are closing the colleges down and say, October 7th, not enough Jews were going to be killed. We're going to have 1,000 of these attacks. The Muslim religion is not a religion of peace. Muslims, to say that people should fear Muslims, Muslims fear other Muslims. Most of the attacks on churches and mosques have been by other Muslims. Our country should be a country under God and should be a separation of powers between religion and state. 8 cities, American cities now, have the Muslim 8-pointed star replacing the American 5-pointed star, and there seems to be 7 or so other Democratic-controlled cities that want to replace the American 5 5-point star with the Muslim 8-point star. The state of Minnesota has made their official flag now to have the Muslim 8-point star. Utah protested, and that's changed. We have a free country. We have to have free elections. Biden had a close election in 2002, 2020. Now he has 10 million illegal immigrants, and some people want to be able to vote. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has the right to Secret Service protection. His family supported Biden, but they still deny him Secret Service protection. President Trump is being persecuted by these people. If he did something wrong, he should be impeached. And they shouldn't have all these states and all these people harassing him so he can't campaign. I think the Biden administration should allow other people to compete fairly. He says he wants a debate. I think Trump should pick someone, a good vice president, like from Florida. And I think we all have to fight against this anti-Semitism that's not being properly addressed in the Democratic-controlled area. Thank you very much.
Nancy Sherlock.
Good morning. I didn't know what the former speakers were going to speak about, but apparently my prepared remarks are very timely. I actually came here to thank the Board of Elections and for all the work that they've done this year. We had 2 elections, which was not easy for the board. I think that there's, I believe of the integrity of the board and the integrity of the people that work for the director. So thank you to them and to actually all the staff. We have an amazing county, and it was just demonstrated today. It's reminded me of why I like to live here. Of course, as a child, I had no choice, but actually it turned out to be very well. And regarding some remarks, if people remember their history, the reason the country was formed the way it was and the people were coming to the States because of religious persecution. So yes, we should continue to keep the separation of church and state. It's my opinion, but I also think it's history. And a reminder that the under God piece and the Pledge of Allegiance, that was not even added until the mid-50s. So just a couple of remarks. Thank you again for all of the work that this county does for the people of the county. Thanks.
Thank you. Bill Everett.
Hi, good morning. Bill Everett, Middletown Township. First off, I'd like to thank the Board of Elections yesterday for hearing some of the concerns we had and addressing many of the questions that we had yesterday. I'm looking to make some comments about the election integrity and the goal to give some broader awareness of some of the concerns some of the citizens have about the election. So I basically have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. Basically, on unmanned stations at the witnessing of the central count. In 2022 midterm elections, Christine Heitman was a watcher at the Board of Elections where they counted the mail-in ballots. She noticed that unmanned high-speed scanning stations were unlocked. She brought it to the attention of the Board of Elections, namely Gail Humphrey. The response was everyone in the area is authorized, and besides, the area is recorded. Now in 2024 primary elections, not only was the stations unmanned, but at 7:43 p.m., Clearcast employees were scanning in ballots when nobody was around to watch. My question to you is, why doesn't the Board of Elections care enough about the security to keep the workstations locked so that only people authorized to scan ballots are able to do it? A good system would have that, and the Clearcast employees would not have to access to scan only the people who are authorized. So they're not poll workers, the Clearcast employees, so why were they left alone in the room with the stations unlocked? That's just a question for your consideration. We were told that there's recordings. How do we get that security footage if we want to watch the remote count ourselves? How do we get that? And my last comment is about the voter rolls, and we've talked about that a lot. In the 2022 midterm elections, there were 12,000 voters on the rolls who don't live in the county. We identified 500 who voted, and we were able to canvass them. We found 150 cases of voter fraud where the voter was registered to the location and upon speaking with the resident, discovered that the person who voted didn't actually live there. If you're actively working on cleaning the voting rolls, how come that number, the non-resident registrations has grown to over 18,000? Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Beth Curcio.
Congratulations, Commissioners, and happy anniversary. It's been a year since you were ordered by the courts to release all the emails that were requested to the Right to Know filed by Jamie Walker and Megan Brock. Did you pay the $1,500 fines? How dare you justify using taxpayer money for 3 lawyers to keep all of these hidden? How much has the taxpayer paid so far? Why are you above the law? It's important for people of Bucks County to understand that you are using lawfare against taxpayers with taxpayer money. This could happen to any taxpayer if they decide to challenge one of the commissioners. When taxpayers are not afforded town halls so that they can participate in their local government, it is very problematic. You seem to have plenty of time for many photo ops, including sitting in pig pens, attending drag queen shows with minors present, but no time for town halls for more people that could participate. You have a duty to the people of Bucks County to listen to their needs, ideas, and concerns. You ran on transparency, more lies. Commissioners, you have never seemed to answer important questions that we, the taxpayers, ask. Instead, you find something to gaslight us with. Gaslighting is right out of the Marxist playbook. Where in Bucks County are you making housing available for illegal criminal aliens that have broken into our country? By being part of the Marxist agenda, you are putting every citizen of Bucks County in danger. It amazes me how your position and power, along with your political careers, are more important than your county and your country. If this Marxist crap isn't defeated in our lifetime, our children and our grandchildren will live as Russians, as Chinese serfs. You are one uniparty, and it is just unacceptable. This country was founded to be a republic. With free market capitalism, it is the only proven economy that lifts people out of poverty, but you keep pushing more socialism. It is time for you to begin town halls and listen to the people. During the pandemic, you stole liberties and freedoms, forcing mass mandates, business closures, school closings, and worse, mandating experimental toxins on people's precious bodies. You destroyed many people's business, and you just didn't care. After all, you got paid along with all government employees. The Marxist Biden agenda, which took over by stealing an election, is destroying our country faster than ever before. It's turned our cities into third world countries, and it is beginning to creep into Bucks County. Crime is through the roof, fentanyl is killing so many, and guess what? Most politicians are part of the problem. You are now involved in helping destroying our oil industry, which is crucial for the states and our country. Keep trying to convince yourself that global warming, or whatever the far left renames it this week, is true. Biggest hoax, and most people know it. If you choose to get an electric car, that's fine. But forcing this crap on average Americans is a destruction of our republic. Thank you.
Gail Thibodeau.
Good morning. I'm Gail Thibodeau from Middletown Township, and my comments are related to concerns of voters and some election integrity groups about whether or not the voting machines are connected online. So I have heard it said that you can scan a ballot more than once, but we know that isn't quite true. There are 2 types of scans. The one we usually think of is when the ballot gets scanned into the scanning station, but there's also the blue crest scan of the outer envelope. This scan calls into the state's website. The Blue Crest scanner is happening on Election Day. The high-speed ballot scanner knows how many ballots were received for that precinct and won't allow more ballots to be scanned than mail-in ballots received. Since ballot envelopes are being scanned on Election Day, how does the ballot scanning software know how many ballots there are in the precinct if it isn't online? Secondly, I was present for the logic and accuracy testing of the voting machines on day one. I've heard many experts say that the scanners are not connected online. At that testing, I learned that from a Board of Elections official that Clearcast attempted to do a software update remotely for the very first time since we were using those machines. They were unsuccessful and as a result had to come to the warehouse to perform the update. The machines were then certified by the Department of State. I'm not a computer expert, but that is telling me that the scanners are connected to the internet. I'd also like to know how a race is called on election night at 8:15. The AP reported they called a race for Congress at 8:15 when we don't even start calling in totals for walk-in voters on election day till, I would say, by 9 o'clock. So I'd appreciate understanding how that is. I know that the mail-in ballots are counted starting at 7 a.m. on election day, but I'd like to know how a race can be called at 8:15 when the polls close at 8. Thanks so much. And I do appreciate the Board of Elections and all they do. I got to see it firsthand, and I don't envy all that they had to do to get ready for an election. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert McLean.
Good morning. Robert McLean, Milford Township. Early in my career, I toured Byberry, Pennhurst, and Emeryville mental hospitals. The programs that you just recognized are a much more dignified approach to treatment of these individuals, and thank you for that. God gave the law, the Ten Commandments, as his requirement for righteousness and as a pattern of protection. Protecting God's honor. You shall not have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. You shall not bear false witness. And protecting human authority. Honor your father and your mother. Protecting human life. Thou shalt not murder. Protecting marriage. You shall not commit adultery. Protecting property. You shall not steal. Protecting purity of heart. You shall not covet. I don't know about you, but to fully comply with all these commandments, I find it to be impossible. And that is called sin. And that is the point. We cannot fully comply. We all have sinned against the law through commission or omission to a greater or lesser degree and have tried to create our own righteousness through our good works. Then what hope do we possibly have? God has provided us a way to obtain the righteousness required in the law through Jesus Christ, who obeyed all the law perfectly. Matthew 5:17 through 18 says, with Jesus saying, "Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all is fulfilled." God has provided a way of escape from our guilt and his wrath. Ephesians 2:8 through 9. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that is not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. God has provided us the grace and the mercy, the faith to believe, and the gift, Jesus Christ. Let us turn from our sin, trust in Christ alone for the forgiveness of sin and for eternal life. Romans 10:9 through 10. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus and shalt believe in thine heart that God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Thank you.
Thank you. I know many of the questions that were asked today were also asked yesterday at the Board of Elections and answered, but I'm going to ask our clerk and deputy COO to go ahead and answer some of them.
Thank you, Commissioner. And also, I want to say thank you to the folks who are doing such a great job in coming to watch us do our elections. I believe that you are doing it from a standpoint of trying to learn more, so I really appreciate it. And I'm going to do my best to answer some of these questions, but I am happy to follow up if I did not do good enough of a job. So the first question, because Christine talked about, and first I want to thank Christine. She came and she did sit with me for a long time this past election. And I think both on my behalf and her behalf, we are trying to work together to do our best to read the law, follow procedure. So I think it's great. Thank you. There was a question about when Christine was with us, and we only had one watcher this past election. Normally we have multiple from both parties. There wasn't a lot of contention on, on the ballot itself, so we didn't have a lot of watchers. So Christine was with us all day long from the time we opened in the morning until we left that night. So she put in the same day we did. She was there all day long. The XML question was when Christine, it was not when she and I were speaking to each other. It was, she overheard a conversation between me and staff, and it was us doing our work product. So it was not a matter of the end result of the election or the way the election was reported was in any way wrong, impacted, or harmed. So there are two vendors in this scenario we're going to talk about. The first one is Clear Ballot, and the other one is 10X. So Clear Ballot is the company, the one that Beth referred to, that the state only lets us, there's only 5 that we're allowed to hire. Clear Ballot is the company we use to do basically, I would say, like the comprehensive election product. And so Clear Ballot not only has Bucks County as a client, it has other counties in Bucks and throughout the whole country. Clear Ballot provides us with a hardware, software product, and in that product is something we called ClearCast. We use ClearCast to make the ballot. So let's put that on the left side of the story. On the right side of the story is 10X. 10X is a completely different vendor. And we use 10X to do a couple of things, but the major thing we use them for is to report the election night results out to the public. So the conversation Christine overheard when I was talking to other staff was an IT professional, he's an amazing professional that works at this county, explaining to me, who I will 100% admit did not go to IT school, I have a poli-sci degree, how when we make the ballot in ClearCast, that there's 3 fields, and they're all like name fields. And he said, when 10X receives that massive amount of data, it's just taking data, like it's a computer saying, okay, I got my data. And so part of LNA is after when we make that ballot and all of that data field. So for example, those data fields may say, for example, staff would say to me, the full name of a title of a race. So state representative, General Assembly, I think it might even say Pennsylvania 178th. Those are a lot of words to fit into one field. We didn't even get to the candidate's name yet, right? So the data fields, they have 3 places to put information. So that would maybe be one. And maybe the other one is, Mr. Frank Smith, who's running for that office. And then there's another field where it can be identifying field, like maybe, I don't know, maybe Frank has, and maybe Frank's name is Franklin, and maybe, I don't know, the third field they use like Frank. All of that is for the people who make the ballot. The ballot itself, the name of the candidate, if you go and look at the county's public website, was not hurt in any way. Like our ballot was right. The sample ballots that are on our webpage, all correct. So when I was talking to that IT professional, he was showing me the massive amounts of data, and I was saying, oh, okay, I understand. I understand why you have more data here than you're putting out on 10X, and that's what he was explaining to me. So it was really us doing our work. And I appreciate the question, and I appreciate all the time that Christine put in to share a day with us. Okay, let me go through, and I'm sorry if I miss any. I'll do my best. So that was number 1 from Christine. And then there are questions about the high-speed scanners. Thank you again. That's a fabulous question, and I would have the same question if I was a watcher and I did not know. Those high-speed scanners, the 10 that are in the Board of Elections, have a login and a password that only 2 people know, and they are day-to-day Board of Election employees. So if you see us walk away from them, they're not a vulnerable situation. And that is also, as you know, we take very careful, sign in and sign out, I guess I want to say, of who's in that room with us Election Day. Also why we had the blue vest this time is so that when we go into the presidential, there will be a lot more watchers, there'll be a lot more people, right? There's a lot more attention. It's like Christine said, and I told her this, it's so we all know who the players are in the room. So I want you to, I want to appease any stress about the high-speed scanners. They do have logins and passwords, and only 2 people have them. I don't have them. Commissioners don't have them. Okay, Clear Ballot. The Clear Ballot vendors that were there that day did not scan ballots. They were there, and we hire them every election. It's been on the commissioner's agenda once a year, every year. We bring them in and all the vendors in, and I think it's a wise use of our taxpayer dollars. We pay them to be there on site in case we have to troubleshoot during the day because it's their product, and I think it's worth spending that money to have them there. So if it jams, if it gives an error code on all those high-speed scanners, and that's why the gentleman from Clear Ballot is there, and I think we all want them to continue to be there. You'll also see people in that room, like their shirt may say OPEX on it. OPEX is those 4 machines that people sit down on. They're like have two people use them. Also the machines in the back room that I personally nicknamed I call them the wood chipper. It's just because they go so fast and things go on them. Those are all OPEX products, so if they break during the day, I believe, and I think we should all continue to believe, we have vendors on site and pay them to do that because we're the 4th largest county. Just bear with me. I was confused by this question a little bit, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. I think the question was, how does the software know how many are at the precinct if it's not online? And then it said, our voting machine's connected online, the Blue Cross envelope, all that online stuff. So I'll just go through each of the pieces of equipment. The equipment that goes to the polls is not online. The scanners that you go through, they have those USBs in them. So they're not touching anything there, I guess. And please forgive me, I don't know if the right word, I'm looking at our IT people in the back. Air-gapped, airlocked might be the right word, I'm sorry. Yes, he's nodding at me. Okay, so they're not touching the internet, they have the USBs. The high-speed scanners and the Blue Crest are only able to speak to a secured server in that building, in that room, so anyone who's come and watched us, which Christine has on Election Day here, there's a cage, it's a server. It does not touch any other server. All the other servers for Bucks County are on a completely different floor. So they're not touching the internet there either, including the Blue Crest. There was questions about signatures. So when the Board of Elections staff does look at signatures on the front end when someone does their mail-in ballot application, which has to happen before we're allowed to give them the ballot. The state SURE system does have a signature field in there. What I was referring to with Christine when I said the Blue Crest isn't doing it, the Department of State was going to update the SURE system, and we counties were told it was going to be completed by 2024. There was a change in mindset leadership at the county, at the state. They didn't believe the vendor for the SURE system was doing a good job. That's not within our control. It's my understanding they kind of got rid of that contract and they're going to be redoing it. So things that are in the lane of the Department of State and the SURE system, we don't have control over, quite simply. There was one more question I just thought of and I wanted to answer, and I'm so sorry. How can elections be called at 8:15 at night? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Another one? You don't have a second?
I can go there. I can go there. Oh, it's on. So the election at 8:15, the part of canvassing under Act 77 is we're allowed to open and scan them on the high-speed scanners. So I'm really proud of us because we do all that work all day long with, teams of so many people every 4 hours. They're sitting there on the scanner waiting. And then at 8:01, a gentleman from our IT team, we're like excited, we're like go, because it's competition. We kind of want to beat the other counties to show how good we did during the day. So that's why we like to, we have such good numbers at 8:01. It means we did our job here in Doylestown during the day with the high-speed scanners, the mail-ins. It means the mail-ins have been processed. The higher that number is for mail-ins means the better job we did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just really quick, Mr. Hutt, did you want to answer the question on the dam? Thank you.
Yeah, for the Bradford Dam, the township leases that property from us. They've been notified several times about access on top of the dam, and the tire marks on there are from our people working on the dams. We can't put barriers up because it's just not permitted, but I'll work with the township to see what signage is missing. I know I did that last year too, and some of the new signs were installed, but if somebody keeps taking them down, then we'll have to figure out what's going on there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving to the consent agenda, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the April 17th, 2024 meeting and items 1 through 18.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have budget adjustments. Mr. Buscola?
Thank you, Commissioner. For your consideration, there are 7 budget adjustments for 2023. Number 42 through 47 adjust the budgets for 8 departments. No impact to the general fund, and that will allow for additional expenditures for 2023 to be recorded and help in the closeout of the annual report for 2023. Number 48 will recognize the savings that the county can realize from American Rescue Plan funding and transfer that money to capital projects to cover the cost for projects that are like the construction of the Lower Bucks Government Service Center, some of the construction of the Crisis Center, and other projects that are in the works already that were approved on the agenda.
Thank you.
Again, no impact to the general fund for that one either.
Any questions for Mr. Buscola? Is there a motion to approve budget adjustment 42 through 48?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Commissioner Harvey, do you want to review the board appointments?
Sure, we have 2 appointments, both new, to the Bucks County Children and Youth Advisory Board, Ms. Mary Worthington, 3-year term, which will end March 1st, 2027. To the Bucks County Workforce Development Board, a 3-year term, Mr. Mark Covell, term will end May 4th, 2027. Make a motion for both of those appointments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And to review other civics, I'm going to read these out of the order they're on here. Bucks County Hero Scholarship Fund for $3,000, Christmas Gala for $1,500, Honorio Wellness for $250, Magic Charities Foundation for $1,000, the Puerto Rican Cultural Association of Bucks County for $2,000, and then there are 3 related to the coroner's donation that they were able to make, and this will go to the Bucks County Drug and Alcohol Commission and also the Bucks County Suicide Prevention Task Force, although the Drug and Alcohol Commission holds their money, and also to NOVA, and they are each for $2,656. And I will put them all in a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chief Operating Officers.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to say thank you to the Board of Elections and to the staff at Board of Elections and Ms. Gail Humphrey, the division leader. They did a great job, the law department and all of the rest of the county staff folks that volunteered on Election Day. They did a great job and ran another successful election. In addition to that, we have a job fair in Quakertown. First one that I think we've had up in Quakertown that I can remember. The PA Career Link of Bucks County is going to hold it at the Charlie Barn, which is 116 East Broad Street in Quakertown. They have donated the space for this, and it is for they're hosting a reentry friendly job fair with the Second Chance employers. So if you can attend on May 16th, it's a Thursday from 9 to 11:30. Those are the operating hours, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Solicitor's report?
Thank you. I have just one item to report. The board held its standing executive session yesterday, April 30th, with staff and legal counsel present to discuss personnel matters, pending and prospective litigation, and to receive confidential legal advice. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner comments. Commissioner DiGirolamo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know during the presentations, we recognized Mental Health Awareness Month, recognized Conservation Week, but I know this month of May is an important month because we recognize the men and women of our police forces to protect us each and every day. And that was really brought into the spotlight and made vividly clear earlier this week when 8 police officers were shot in North Carolina. And tragically and heartbreakingly, 4 of them passed away. And I think 3 of them have been released from the hospital, and still one other one is still in the hospital. And I think we should recognize the men and women of our police forces every day, just not the month of May. And I know there's a lot of events around the county. There's events recognizing the men and women who have died. And again, I think we should keep in mind the men and women who are out there protecting us. 378 officers died in the line of duty, were killed in 2023. 378. That's a 60% increase since 2018, a 60% increase. So please, let's keep the men and women of our police force, not only here in Bucks County, but across the country, keep them in our thoughts and our prayers each and every day. And we want to recognize their bravery and their hard work that they do protecting the citizens of Bucks County each and every day. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner DiGirolamo, for those comments. Certainly we echo them. I know we're having the peace officers here at the county do a memorial program, the flag raising in a couple weeks, which is open to the public, be on the front lawn of this building. A couple things I neglected at the last meeting to recognize Passover holidays. So for those of our residents and fellow county officials who are Jewish, I certainly hope you had a wonderful Passover holiday. Talking a little bit about just kind of going back some of the election stuff, obviously hot topic, which will be all year. So this is I'm in my 21st year as an elected official. Started out in working on campaigns when I was 13, I think. My uncle was running for mayor of Bristol Borough, and I was standing outside the polls, handing out literature. I was going door to door, putting stuff in people's doors for my uncle, who won. Let's say that. So, not just because of me, but there was a lot of us out there doing it. But I was a committee person for 20 years here in this county. And until I became a county commissioner, until I actually watched the process of the Board of Elections and what they do, I did not in any way, shape, or form appreciate the complexity of what they do. It is an incredibly complex operation, which they do very, very well at, and they have, even before we got here. I mean, it's been very, very well run. And I say this only because certainly someone who's coming, who's observing, and certainly appreciate the fact people wanting to know how the process works. There's obviously been a lot of misinformation, so I appreciate the fact that people want to learn more about the process and see it for themselves. Just, keep in mind that, it's a little bit like, sometimes you watch the cooking shows on your phone or on TV or something like that, and people are, sometimes just throwing stuff in a pot and if you're not a cook, you don't know if it was that, paprika or was that cumin, I don't know what that was. And you're just guessing, unless they tell you. And a lot of times they don't tell you, they just kind of throw stuff in. It's a little bit like that, and I don't mean to trivialize it. I've been kind of fond of using the analogy of elections are like icebergs. We know the part we see as voters. We go into the polls, we go through the process, or we vote by mail, or maybe we're committee people, obviously not a lot of those. A small percentage of the county fits into that role. But, you're still seeing just a very small part. And even as elected officials, all of us up here, there's probably 80 years of elected office experience, just the three of us. And I would probably echo, I'm sure they would echo my comments, that once they became part of this county process, they didn't really have any idea about how complex the system was. And so certainly I would just ask people to be careful drawing conclusions from an observation they make, because you're seeing one aspect of it, but you're not seeing all of it. And I think our chief clerk and deputy COO did an excellent job of kind of trying to, sort of puts the pieces together. It's easy to see different pieces and jump to conclusions because of what we hear on certain social media and cable news networks and from certain politicians. But the fact of the matter is that we run very good elections here in this county and people around the country. Roughly 3,000 counties in this country all run elections well. They take their job seriously. So there is a process. There are numerous safeguards and double checks and everything else that make the process very safe. That's just kind of, I'd ask people to sort of start with that in mind, rather than starting with the more sinister, conspiracy theories, things that sometimes we hear too much of in the world. And just the only other thing I'll touch on is in terms of the AP, obviously news agencies for decades and decades have been calling races, based on exit polls, based sometimes just on the fact that, they just know how it's going to end. I think with the congressional race, obviously the Democrat was unopposed in this district. I don't really think anybody who seriously knows politics expected Congressman Fitzpatrick to lose the primary. So I think the AP felt pretty safe making that announcement whenever they made it. Even if it was just the mail-in votes that we were announcing at 8:01, they could look and say, okay, the race is over. It's done. We can call it. So, but that's we aren't allowed, as Ms. Humphrey said, we are starting to scan throughout the afternoon the ballots and continue to do that as long as they come in. And then obviously when the precincts report and the judges of elections or the sheriff's deputies bring up everything from all the different precincts, then we start uploading from the machines. But we're not allowed, even if we could start scanning at 7 in the morning if we wanted to, we're not allowed to release any data anywhere until 8 p.m. And it's not like it's showing up on a screen somewhere in this building. It doesn't. There's no little counter somewhere that gives us a running total of who's gotten what votes. That's not how it works. It's pictured just sort of, it's like having a faucet, and you've got all the data waiting in that faucet, and at 8:01 we can open the faucet and let it flow out. But until then, you can't see inside the pipe to see what's in it. So that's really, just so people know some of the, again, very complicated process and complex process. So just trying to demystify some of it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And just before we close, a quick thank you to all the people who worked on the Hold On You Matter Suicide Task Force walk over the weekend. This is being done at least annually now, and it's a place where we raise money, raise awareness, and many people go to remember lost ones. So I want to thank the Suicide Task Force, Behavioral Health, the Community College, all our staff, and all the volunteers that were there. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.